And I think that you know, President-elect is, I think, off to a very good start.
Okay, but he clearly he's got high ratings and high marks, and lots of people on both sides are giving respect for the people that he's chosen for his administration, for his intelligence, and for his start. Right. On the other hand, they can't seem to agree over something very basic: the future of the American automobile industry.
Well, they can't agree for, I think, really good reasons, because it's a really hard issue. I mean, in some sense, it goes against everything we stand for in terms of America and American competition and American economic policy. I mean, this is what the Europeans did. This is what we derided for so many years.
Rescue.
Government rescue, government bailout. And I think at the gut level, people in America, and I've been very proud of Americans in listening to this discussion, at a gut level, a lot of Americans understand that there's something broken about Detroit, that these companies are not competitive, that they're somehow out of sync with reality. They're not tackling their own problems. They're people that are disconnected with reality, and so why should we help them? On the other hand, it is a huge industry. It has many ripple effects. So I think
there are a lot of lives of workers.
And there's a lot of
affected.
lives and workers, and in some sense it's not their fault. Right. So I think the closer the auto plan can become really a true restructuring plan, I think the more it's probably the right thing to do, and it will be supported by most Americans. But when this was seen as a bailout, and until Americans understood that it wasn't that the idea was much more a transitional plan, I think I think American people just didn't buy it.
How do you assess the response of the federal government to the economic crisis?
Well,
considering it was an emergency, it was urgent, it was immediate, and it offered the danger of a tottering financial sector.
I've got to say that you know, given the lack of any precedent really in dealing with this kind of a situation, I think our federal government has moved remarkably fast and remarkably aggressively with remarkable, I think, effort at being thoughtful and balanced, and with a certain amount of political showmanship in the process. But I think this is an example of what we were talking about earlier. I think our system is somehow rising in a way to a higher level. I think we're
learning by their own mistakes.
And learning by their own mistakes.
And they make a mistake and say, okay, let's do it a different way. You know, buying toxic assets is not the way. Maybe recapitalization is.
Maybe recapitalization is. And I think what we see in this crisis is that particularly now, it has become a matter of confidence. It's become a matter of people's belief about the future, and we're kind of in that spiral where, for the last couple months, where, you know, every industry now is saying, "Oh my God, this might be really bad. We better cut back. We better lay some people off. We better cut some costs," and that just goes from one to one to one to one. And that's a classic you know, recessionary, you know, cycle, and so I think that the sort of activeness of the federal government, the degree to which every day you see them, you know, trying to take steps is exactly what was needed.
You also are famous for talking about make sure that short-term solutions are long-term solutions. Right. The idea is going to come in which we have to define whatever is the direction for a regulatory balance.
Right.
You know, and what might that be? Do we not know yet, or is it already people like Michael Porter know what it ought to be and could give us their prescription now?
I think we have a lot of learning about you know, how to simplify and streamline kind of the regulatory process.
Because we have seen the consequence of too little regulation.
Right.
You know, others will point and say we've also seen the consequence of too much regulation, if not here, in other places.
And we've seen it here. Right. Believe me. So I think we're starting to understand that it's not regulation that's good or bad. It's actually how you go about it. Setting high standards for safety and adequacy and capital in the financial markets, is actually what makes financial markets efficient, doesn't work against them. So I think that however the balance there is going to be worked out, but I don't think we're going to have many people arguing that no regulation is good. What worries me is that people are going to be returning to, remember the Sarbanes-Oxley?
Right.
Overshot.
Yes.
We had a problem. It was a serious problem, and then we crafted this monstrosity. And I sit on a bunch of corporate boards, and I lived through, going through all those, all that, and it was unnecessarily intrusive. So the challenge is to kind of
and bureaucratic
and bureaucratic and very costly. So the question is whether we can strike that balance.